Today's
Thank,
webinar, Health and Wellness Resources for Caretakers of Youth with Disabilities. Thank you so very much, Dr. Doleyres.
thank you very much, Dr. Miller. Thank you everyone for putting this webinar together. And I am very pleased to be a part of, to have been invited by the KUMDC, the Kaiser Multidisciplinary Center, for this particular presentation. My goal basically today is to go over certain concepts while they may not necessarily be new to you, but hopefully by reinforcing them and providing some resources, you will be able to implement at least one or two of these tools or resources in your daily life, or at least on a weekly basis. So basically, I'd like to start with what is self-care. As you can see here, I have an image of self-care being the umbrella, and under that umbrella, basically it means for you to take time for yourself, to go outside and breathe some fresh air, basically fueling your body, so either exercising, sleeping properly, and putting your health first. That is most important. Staying hydrated is another way of doing that. And being genuine. I know sometimes people say, what does being genuine have to do with self-care? But truthfully, when you're in a position where if you have a concern and you want to express that, I think it's the best, you just go ahead and express it instead of holding it in. And begrudge, I guess, someone basically if they've done something, or if you have a concern, just go ahead and speak up. And that way you're not holding anything in. And as you will see later, all of these components are all interconnected, but I'm going a little bit ahead of myself here. And for sure, practicing forgiveness is also a part of self-care, and acknowledging your feelings. Again, if there's a way you feel about a particular circumstance or situation, then it is good for you to acknowledge those and express those to the people close to you. So there are a couple of facts I'd like to share with you regarding self-care. First and foremost, it is essential. It is absolutely essential for optimal health. When we think of health, most times we only think of it from a physical standpoint. But again, very shortly, as you will see, there are so many other aspects that are connected or interconnected with self-care and being well. And basically, this is a bit of a statistic I'd like to share with you. The average adult spends on average 3 hours per week on self-care. And basically, it might seem like, to some, it might seem like it's a lot, because I'm sure some of you or some of us just generally do not have any time basically to care for ourselves. But just keep in mind, any little bit that you do on a day-to-day basis, or at least on a weekly basis, to take some time for yourself, that is, the best thing you can do to help keep yourself healthy, so that you in turn can provide and give to others. So basically, what is wellness? Wellness is a broad concept, and under wellness, self-care falls under that. Wellness means being healthy in many dimensions of our lives, including the emotional, physical, occupational, intellectual, financial, social, environmental, and spiritual parts. Here you will see a wheel, which I'll go over with you shortly. But as I've mentioned earlier, these dimensions are interconnected, and one dimension builds on another. So we'll move on so I can explain and give you some examples of that. So for instance, if we're worried about money, if someone has debt, or are being unable, or not being able to afford what they need, that's going to put some level of stress, and may potentially over time, if it's not resolved in a time frame that's obvious, that's somewhat appropriate, again, that's relative, then that stress will probably lead to other ailments and dis-ease basically in our bodies. We sometimes experience anxiety. That would look at the emotional aspect of that wheel. This can lead to medical problems, physical, as I just stated a moment ago, trouble at work, which is occupational. So when this happens, we may even question our own sense of meaning and purpose, spiritual. So of course, unfortunately, there are people who have, for instance, let's say they've lost their jobs, then it starts, again, one thing escalates to another, and it really does affect the 8 dimensions of wellness. And the 8 dimensions of wellness, again, refers to that wheel that I showed you earlier. I'll just go back to it briefly, so you can see how each area of our lives are, each area is interconnected, and it is really important for us to pay attention to some of the events that are currently going on in our lives, and to be sure that we try to resolve them as best as we can, so that other detrimental, situations, so that they don't lead to other detrimental circumstances later on. So at the same time, again, I just said that when we're not working, which is the occupational aspect, we may lose opportunities to interact with others, which is a social aspect. So it's really important to have either friends or family members, but people that we're close to and that you really enjoy spending time with. And maybe again, basically, it may not be because of someone who loses their job, they may not be able to afford good food or medical care that will help or enable them basically be well physically. So again, I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I just want you to understand how everything is connected to one another. We may even need to move our home to a place that feels less safe and secure. Again, this is building on that example about losing your, a job, and it has like a ripple effect on everything else. So when we talk about wellness resources, I've divided it again into 5 components instead of all 8, just because of time. But basically, mental health is one area that we don't really think about much. And unfortunately, I guess also in our society, it's not something that's that we give much value to in some ways, but it is a really important aspect of our health and our well-being. So from a mental health perspective, it's important for you to socialize, basically spend time outdoors. Just go out for a walk, go to the park. If you have kids, go ahead and play with them. Or if you have a significant other, just go out and for a walk, or again, just exercise or take some time, breathe in some fresh air, as opposed to staying indoors. Take your break while you're at work. So many of us, and sometimes I am basically, I'm one of the people who don't always follow this, but I try to as best as I can. But take a break while you're at work. When you have your lunchtime, go ahead and try and take that break. Use it to walk around. It will help you. It helps to break up the day. It helps to give you a different perspective, so that you can go back and really give of yourself as you are to these children, or as caregivers of these children. You can go back and give more of yourself because you've taken some time for yourself. Then now it's like a little bit of a recharge before you go back to working and caring for again, our youth. Play a game like crossword puzzles, again, something just to kind of divert your thoughts from work or other situations that are going on in your life. You can call a friend. Embrace support from others. Sometimes many of us are not necessarily opening to sharing what's going on with others, but if there's something going on and you have people there who want to support you or who are supportive of you, it is absolutely essential for you to at least be open to it, not necessarily to go into spilling everything that's going on with you all over again. But if you need to do that, that's just as fine. But basically, if you find that there are people around you who want to support you, just be open to it, and it will help alleviate some of the pressure that you may be feeling. Here, throughout the presentation, you will see that there are some areas that are highlighted. Once you receive those PowerPoint slides, you are going to be able to just click on them. They're links. And for instance, here I have the very last point for mental health where it says avoid compassion fatigue. If you click on it, it gives you a resource that you can use, or it not only explains what compassion fatigue is, but also some tools of how you can alleviate that. So please be on the lookout for those when you're going through the slides when you receive them, as they will provide helpful information to you. So again, here I just repeated the same, and just at least so I can give you an example or define what compassion fatigue is. Basically, compassion fatigue can develop from a combination of burnout, feelings of hopelessness and difficulties at work or in doing your job effectively, and secondary or vicarious traumatization from the exposure of the traumatic life experiences that your clients report. So basically, compassion fatigue comes with you giving of yourself. Again, we're all very grateful for the work that you do, for giving of yourself, for caring for again, our youth. But just, again, be mindful, be aware of the stress and the toll that may put on you. And again, if, feelings of hopelessness and burnout are very much a part of sometimes our day-to-day lives, but we just keep going, and by not necessarily acknowledging what's going on with you, and you keep going, then for sure you will burn out, and as mentioned earlier, that may lead to other consequences with your health from a physical standpoint. So here I want to mostly focus on physical health. With physical health, there are so many things that we kind of have to be mindful of and aware of. But again, like I said, my goal today is if you can at least just take one or two of the resources and try to apply them on a daily basis if possible, but at least once weekly. That's what I'm really striving for. So for your physical health, nutrition is key. It is extremely important what we're feeding our bodies, and what you eat will basically has an impact on the way you feel, and it also has an impact on how you're able to function from a day-to-day basis. So sometimes we eat some things and we're feeling very heavy and feel sleepy. So that's something, for instance, that I would try to stay away from if you need a lot of energy. But if you're eating, for instance, fresh fruits and vegetables and nuts, those are lighter food. So you won't feel as well, either drained or heavy, but you are going to feel more energetic because it's not, our digestive system is not working overtime trying to break down a particular food type that we've eaten that's pretty heavy on our digestive system. So of course I say eat the rainbow. The rainbow means everything that's colorful. So you have, like, for instance, here the picture, even though it's a little bit fuzzy here, but you have like red peppers, cabbage, you have green apples, red cabbage, eggplants, yellow peppers. Again, try to eat foods that are that represents the rainbow, and try to eat as much as possible. Like I said, fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Those, again, are lighter on our digestive system. It doesn't work as hard, and that's why we feel drained or feel heavy after eating something that's, I guess, much more heavier than these types of foods. So because our digestive system is not doing all of this extra work to digest, I guess, the food, we feel lighter and much more energetic to move forward. Drink plenty of water. There's an 8 glasses of water challenge. Just challenge yourself as much as you can to drink 8 glasses of water at least. But I'll go over that in a little bit more detail ahead of, in upcoming slide. But just remember to stay hydrated, eat the rainbow, stay hydrated. Supplements only when necessary. Please, consult with your healthcare provider. If you feel that you might need supplements for to help you on some level. Maybe it's B vitamins for energy or whatever it is. I only recommend those if you're, with the consent of your healthcare provider, and that you're taking the appropriate supplements. But sometimes multivitamins just work. But again, I certainly refer you to your healthcare provider. Be mindful of the food you buy when grocery shopping. Again, I think maybe some of you have heard this, but when you're going into a grocery store, try to shop the perimeter of the store. The perimeter of the store is where you will find all of these types of foods that I've talked about earlier, like fresh fruits and vegetables. And the center aisles, if you notice, will have all of the canned and I guess processed foods, so to speak. So as much as you can, try to shop the perimeter of the store. And so that's where you'll see all of the fresh fruits and vegetables and nuts and all of that, all that's good for us, basically. And remember, please, to check on these links. I will click on one of them before the end of this presentation, just so you can see the type of resources that are available to you. And I hope you will take an opportunity to look at them. So here, this slide, I've provided sample lunches and a dessert, or some of this can also be dinner. I couldn't fit a lot in here, but I've also provided below the website that I picked up these from. So again, you can eat very healthy foods that are nutritious, but also that are delicious. Again, I know many of us are used to eating a certain way. However, if we try every once in a while, you just try one new recipe, see how you like it. And maybe, if you do like it, hopefully you can start incorporating it more and more into your regular, when you're preparing your meals on a weekly or daily basis. So here, this is just a variety. As you click on these links, the recipes are actually listed there, and you'll actually see a picture of it as well. So I'll just take a moment. Actually, this is, I think, a good time for me to at least click on one of them here so you can have a sense of what it looks like. Hopefully, I will be able to pull this up. So just give me one quick moment here. I'm not sure if you will be able to see this because I think you only would have access to the slides. However, like I said, if you click on these links, you will certainly see the different foods and recipes for you to try out. And I really encourage you to try this at home. And here it talks also about meal prep and how that will help you over time. I guess how it can help you to save time if you cook or at least plan on cooking, plan your dinners or your meals in one day, maybe on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday during the day, and you can plan your meals out for the week. It will allow you not only to save money if you're, by not necessarily going out and buying lunch each day, but also you will know what you're eating, and hopefully you will be eating healthier foods. So as I alluded to earlier, it is really important to stay hydrated. At a minimum, consider challenging yourself to 8 glasses of water every day. As a matter of fact, within your organization, maybe it's something you can do where you work, and challenge everyone to come in with their bottle of water and challenge everyone to drink at least 8 glasses of water every day. Basically, by staying hydrated, it helps with losing weight. I know that's usually one of the main goals that everyone has, or at least many people have. It helps boost your energy. It promotes a healthy heart. It fights infection, promotes healthy skin, rids body of toxins, fights infection, prevents constipation. So again, water is essential, and you have to remember that our bodies are made up of 70% water. So it is important to stay hydrated. And what happens too sometimes is that we don't realize, sometimes when we're hungry or we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. And if you drink water, you might just feel fine instead of eating, especially if you know you had a meal maybe an hour or two ago, and you're feeling hungry again. It might just be that you're dehydrated, and it would be just at least try to drink some water at that time and see whether or not your hunger goes away. But many times people, that when we do feel hungry, it's because sometimes it just means that we really are thirsty. So keep that in mind, again, on a daily, as much as you can, at least, I'm in the forefront of your mind. So there's, again, usually we do hear of drinking 8 glasses of water. However, there is also a different way you can do it. So sometimes it's also recommended that you drink half your weight in ounces of water per day. So let's say somebody weighs 140 pounds, it would be recommended that they drink 70 ounces of water. That may or may not be the 8 glasses, but that's not what's important. At a minimum, we tell people 8 glasses of water just because I guess it's easy to remember. But if the best way to actually drink water that is appropriate to you as an individual is to drink half of your weight in ounces. And here again, we have examples. If you're 200 pounds, make sure you drink 100 ounces of water per day. And if you don't know, basically just take a water bottle, figure out how many ounces it is, and then just refill it throughout the day and ensure that you stay hydrated. Again, this is another component of physical health is sleep. Sleep is very important. More and more, there's so much research out there that talks about the importance of sleep, especially between the hours. Sometimes they'll say 9 o'clock, but at least between 10 and midnight or 1 o'clock, those are when we sleep most deeply, and that's when we get a lot more of our recovery sleep, so to speak. That's when we, again, we go into what we call like the deep sleep, and we recover from the day. A lot of the mental stresses and things that we're thinking about, once you try to schedule a time every day, you're saying, okay, if you're going to sleep at 11 or 12 o'clock at night, then you might say, challenge yourself to try at least half hour earlier than whatever time you're currently sleeping, and keep challenging yourself until you're able to sleep earlier at night, and strive basically to go to sleep for 7 to 8 hours each night. Naps are important. Some people nap and it works well for them. Others not so much. I'm not a napper, but when it's time to sleep, then I make sure that I go, I do go ahead and sleep. But if you have the ability to nap, it could be 15 minutes. Just take a nap. That will help refresh you and give you more energy again to face the day, and continue with your work if possible. Increase bright light exposure during the day. During the day, basically, you will, again, we're mostly exposed to the sunlight, which is good for us. As a matter of fact, it's not something that I've really mentioned here in the slides. But at night, you want to reduce the blue light exposure in the evening. So blue light exposure, everything from television to our phones, to our computers, laptops, all of these electronic gadgets we have, if you're going to bed and you're taking them with you, for sure, it's going to interrupt your sleep. There are studies that basically state that the blue light, even when we are asleep, does not allow us to sleep as deeply as we should. So please just be mindful of those. Just keep them away. Make sure about an hour before you go to sleep that you turn off all of your electronics and just really set, I guess, the mood, so to speak, for you to wind down and fall asleep. Don't consume caffeine late in the day, because for some people or for many, it will keep you up, or at least you might fall asleep initially and then wake up in the middle of the night, like ready to go, but yet, you're not going anywhere. It's time to sleep. So be mindful. And when we speak of caffeine, it's not just coffee. Think of some sodas if you're having those. Some teas also have caffeine, so be mindful of what you're consuming at night. Later, at least in the day before you go to sleep. Reduce irregular or long daytime naps. Basically, again, if you're going to nap, try to see if you can nap around the same time each day. But do not go for long naps. Like I said, 15, maybe 30 minutes, if you have that ability, is all you really need to kind of charge yourself up again and for you to be ready to face the remainder of the day. Try to sleep and wake at consistent times. That's really important because then your body gets into a pattern that it becomes familiar with. And when it's time to sleep, you will start feeling, okay, you're really tired, it's time for you to sleep. And try not to fight it as much as possible. I know sometimes I've done it where I'm really sleepy and I'm trying to fight it to continue to do something. When you're sleepy, just go ahead and make sure that you've done everything you needed to do and go ahead and sleep. And last but not least, I know some of you may not be happy that I'm bringing this up, but don't drink alcohol before you sleep. While I know some people think that actually helps them to go to sleep, it's also, again, been proven through many studies that alcohol actually stimulates people and kind of somewhat energizes you in some ways and does not allow you to sleep. And again, when I'm referring to sleep here, it's not strictly just falling asleep. You may be able to fall asleep the first hour, 2 hours, and then after that you're wide awake. So it's really for you to be able to sleep throughout the night for this, at least 7 to 8 hours at night. And so that when you wake up the next morning, you're again completely charged up and ready to go. So again, another aspect of our physical health would be to exercise. There are different ways you can do it. You don't necessarily need to go to a gym in order for you to exercise. Just remember, be physically active. While you're working throughout the day, if you're able to walk, as stated previously, please go ahead and do so. Use a watch, there are many of them out there, or a tracker of sorts. Challenge yourself. Maybe if you are only walking, let's say 2,000 steps a day, increase it to 3, increase it to 4, and 10,000 steps over time. Don't try to go for 10,000 steps immediately, but just work your way through it. And again, just being active, keeping yourself active, really helps you. Again, the idea of all this presentation of this presentation is, again, to remind you of tools and things that you need to do to care for yourself in order for you able to care for our children, basically. Again, what you do is commendable, to say the least, but please just take some time for yourself when possible. Just try to sneak in a little bit of time here and there, a quick walk for 10 minutes, drink water when you remember, eat properly. So all of these ideas that I'm actually presenting here, again, like I said, those are things that you're familiar with, but really try to see if you can incorporate one or two of these, ideas that I'm presenting here, either daily or weekly in your life. Again, you can go for walking, cycling, swimming, gardening. Some people enjoy to garden. That's a form of exercise. Other people love yoga. Go ahead and join a class, or you don't have to join a class. You can do it in the comfort of your own home. Just pop in a DVD or go online these days on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find some kind of yoga exercise that you can follow along with. Exercise with your kids. I stated that earlier. If you have kids and you want to, again, just go for a walk with them, if they're using their bike, maybe you can be on your bike, take them to the park, go ahead and just, bike with them and just have fun. Just forget everything else that's going on for a little bit and just enjoy that time with your kids. If you have kids, go ahead and enjoy that time with them. Avoid sitting for extended hours. Again, sometimes our jobs require that in some ways, but do make an effort. Just keep reminders for yourself, whether it's on your computer now that can send you notifications, or again, those tracker watches or a tracker of sorts. They might send you reminders every 50 minutes or so to get up and walk, and so that you're not sitting for the full 8 to 10 hours a day at work. So now that I've covered the physical side of, I guess, the wellness resources that I'm discussing here, we're moving on to the spiritual aspect. Again, remember, as I've stated several times already, all of these elements, they're all interconnected. So it's really important for you not to look to, when you're thinking about caring for yourself, or giving yourself some time and concentrate on yourself, I suppose, or focus on yourself, it's important to also look at your spiritual life. For some people, meditating is what they enjoy. Some people have tried it and have not been successful. Maybe that works for you, maybe not. But that's one form of ensuring that you're keeping up, I guess, with your spiritual, the spiritual dimension of your life. Spend time outdoors, which is another one that we've mentioned previously. Take your break for sure. Play a game. That's another one we've mentioned. Call a friend. You might want to speak to someone that you're comfortable with, that you feel is supportive. Just again, you can discuss anything with them that kind of helps. Again, maybe just talking to the person, to that friend, may help give you a different perspective or insight into a situation that you're dealing with. Or go to your local faith-based organization. If you follow a church, go ahead. If that's where you feel like you're being, you can renew again and recharge yourself, go ahead and take part of that. So again, these are some ideas that you can use. At least, again, pick up 1 or 2 of them and see which ones that would work best for you, and try to implement them. And there is not a need to look for extended amount of times to do these. It could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there, but it all adds up. And it will have a good effect on you. Again, like I said, we're all, many of us are caregivers, and certainly you are, and you're wanting to give and give and give, but it's essential that you care for yourself first. So here, actually, I left this for, almost last in a sense, but what is a caretaker? We talked about everything, and, in some ways, I wanted to just bring like an actual definition here for you. It's basically, of course, as you know, people who provide care and attention to others. In your case, it's with children or the youth with disabilities. And sometimes it could be a parent that you're caring for, or others. But that's basically what it stands for. Caregiver is a person, typically either a professional or close relative, who looks after a disabled or elderly person. That's one definition. But basically, you have someone, or maybe a few people, that really rely on you, and that you're the one who takes care of their basic needs in some ways, or at least help them through it. Caregiver can also refer to a parent, foster parent, or social services professional who provides care for an infant or a child. Again, many of us here, I suppose, we are caregivers on many different levels. But again, it was just, I thought I would just insert that slide, because I think more than anyone, you would know what a caregiver is, because that's what you do day in and day out. And again, it's a very rewarding job, but it can also be taxing, and that's the reason why we're going over these resources again. So the importance of self-care. An empty lantern, you may have heard this before, an empty lantern provides no light. Self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine brightly. Just remember that. It is absolutely important for you to care for yourself first, and then you can give to others. Remember that if you're ever on a flight, the first thing they tell you, if there is, there's an issue with the flight, or there's turbulence or something else, they tell you to put that mask on you first. Even when you have your children with you, it's always recommended that you put your mask on first. So you need to take care of yourself first in order to take care of others. The next couple of slides basically reiterate this in different ways. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you won't go. So again, if you're caring for people, and that's what you're doing day in and day out, it's important for you, in a sense, you're teaching that to the people you're caring for, and what you're doing and how much of yourself you're giving to them. If you don't have much to give because you're burnt out, you won't be able to give as much as you actually can. So again, this is to stress the importance of self-care. And I think this is the last slide. Self-care is not selfish. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. Again, some of us do feel some level of guilt if we go ahead and do something that we're happy and that we're happy about. There might be a sense of guilt because for a moment you took some time for yourself and you're not caring for whomever it is that you're responsible for. However, again, you cannot, self-care is not selfish. It's really important that you care for yourself first so that you're able to care for others. So basically, as I'm concluding here, I'd like possibly to challenge you to build a self-care plan. There are different things here. You'll see the different points listed here. Like I said, just pick one or two of them that you think are doable, and just do it on for very small increments of time, whether it's 5 minutes. If it's deep breathing, it could take as little as 10 seconds of 2 or 3 deep breaths, that will again help to recharge you. Do some stretching. If you're sitting down throughout the day, you may want to get up from your desk or where you are or your workstation and just get up and stretch a little bit. And again, that will help you feel better. Meditation, which we spoke of, listening to music. For some people, that's something that helps, that basically gives you lots of energy and revive you. So if that's what helps, go ahead and do so. Exercising, which we talked about. For some people, they just love to get lost reading a good book. So that's another way that you're taking time for yourself. We talked about going for a walk, taking a bath, socializing with friends. Make sure that you have people around you, again, that are supportive, that you're comfortable around, that you can just somewhat hang loose with, as we would say. Sitting outside and relaxing. You may want to just enjoy nature, just, either take a walk or sit outside, just kind of take it in, take, what nature has to offer. And then engaging in a hobby. Each one of us, we have different interests, but if there's something that you're really interested in and you think you've thought of doing it, just go ahead, just dabble a little bit initially, and maybe it's something you can take on over time. And again, these are all ideas that you can basically incorporate throughout your day or throughout your weeks, just to care for yourself and focus on yourself a little bit. And I have, I think I have this, I'm not sure, it doesn't look like it's been linked. If it's not, I will correct that. But again, this is a worksheet basically, and it's, I just noticed it says walk sheet, so apologize for that. But the worksheet basically kind of divides, it's like a table basically that will say, okay, for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these are some of the things that I will do. And like I said, even if it's one day, whether it's for 15 seconds or 1 hour, whatever amount of time you can, just go ahead and just take some time and focus on yourself and do something that you enjoy. So basically, I have come to believe that caring for myself is not self-indulgence. Caring for myself is an act of survival. So this was a statement made by Audre Lorde. And what I want you, again, what I'm trying to reinforce here, please do not feel guilty for taking time out for yourself. That's the only way you can truly give of yourself and care for the people that need us. So a healthy mind plus a healthy body plus a healthy mind equals a happy human. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all striving for. Our health is extremely important. So it's absolutely essential that we look at those different dimensions again of our wellness, so to speak, and try to incorporate as many of these as possible in our day-to-day lives. So again, here it says, remember these 5 elements and the 8 dimensions of health. As stated, I only spoke of 5 because of time, but remember there are 8 dimensions, and please refer to that wheel if you forget, or print it out, put it out there, or print out this image, I don't know, as a reminder. Just remember, basically, whatever it is, from one day to the next, maybe you're considering incorporating a little bit of exercise, maybe a 5-minute walk. It doesn't matter how much of it you do, but at least start and get that going. So basically, to summarize, practicing self-care regularly allows others access to our inner light. I've stressed this as much as I can here. Again, caring for yourself is not selfish, and it allows, you're able to give much more of yourself. And just remember that. It's not something that please do not feel guilty about it. That's, I guess, the main message here. Remember to create space and time for yourself. Be mindful of what and how your care supports you. Be mindful of how you feel when you choose a certain care choice. So again, any one of these things that I've mentioned earlier, just choose one of them that is something that you like and that you can easily incorporate into your life, even if it's for short amounts of time. Setting daily intentions specific to one thing you will do to care for yourself. So again, plan it out, or even if you're not planning it, but just think about, okay, what can I do today to enhance my health, to focus on myself, to care for myself. Just maybe take 15 seconds when you first wake up and see, okay, maybe today I'll drink more water, or I'm going to try to sleep earlier, or I am actually going to change the way I eat and eat foods that are healthier for me, that my body's taking in, and that will give me more energy. So whatever it is, try to see if you can set an intention as bright and early as soon as you wake up for you to basically follow through with throughout your day. So here are some resources that, if interested, again, they're all links that you can go through, that you can go to and access and read them. Some of them are like 1-page sheets, others are a little bit longer. But again, these are all resources that I think would be helpful to you, or that you may have an interest in. At least just go ahead and look through them and see which one you're interested in, and hopefully you'll find more helpful information there. So I want to say thank you. This was basically the gist of my presentation. If you have any questions, I am open to responding to them at this time.